The stars over planet Verdant 3 were quiet. It was a peaceful colony with farms, forests, and cities full of laughter. Families lived simple lives. Children played near the rivers. The people believed nothing could go wrong, but they were wrong. Night. All signals from Verdant 3 stopped. No warning. No call for help. Just silence. The Earth communications network tried again and again to contact the colony. No reply. At first they thought it was a technical issue. Maybe a satellite failure. Then a scout ship was sent. The ship, Scout Light 7, reached Verdant 3 after 6 days of travel. What they found made even the bravest soldier feel cold inside. There were no people, no animals, no birds, no movement. Cities were empty, but everything was still clean. Doors were open. Food was on tables. Clothes were in washing machines. It looked like everyone just stood up and walked away. But that wasn't the truth. Inside the homes, they found bodies, thousands of them. But the bodies were strange. They weren't bleeding. They weren't burned or torn. Instead, they were dry, as if all the blood and energy had been pulled out, leaving behind empty skin and bone. Captain Juno of the Scout Light 7 said just 3 words in her final message. They took everything. Then her ship went dark. No one ever heard from Scout Light 7 again. On Earth, fear began to grow. At first, leaders tried to calm the public. They said it could be a new disease, or maybe a strange energy storm, but secretly, the Earth Defense Council, EDC, was in panic. They had never seen anything like this. And then the second attack came. This time it was not a colony, it was Moonbase Helios, orbiting Earth's own moon. A defense satellite caught the moment. 1 second, everything was normal. The next, a large black shape covered the base. All light disappeared. The satellite camera glitched, and when it came back, the base was gone. Just gone. All that was left was darkness and a strange echo, like a scream, across the frequency bands. This time, the EDC could not hide the truth. The news spread fast. Something is coming. Something that feeds Earth sent its fastest warship to Crusader to search for answers. On board were scientists, soldiers, and top commanders. They reached the ruins of Moonbase Helios in 3 hours. They found nothing but floating metal. The strange thing was, none of it was burned or destroyed. The base had not exploded. It had simply vanished. Then one of the soldiers, Private Lin, said he felt cold, very cold, even though his suit was working perfectly. His hands went numb. I feel like something is pulling the heat out of me, he whispered. The captain told him to get back to the ship, but before Lin could move, his suit began to shake. The oxygen alarms screamed. Then they saw it. Out in the black, a shape moved. It was like a shadow, but it wasn't blocking light. It was eating it. The stars behind the shape disappeared. Then it came closer. Commander Reese ordered a retreat. The Crusader barely made it out. Before jumping to lightspeed, the ship's AI scanned the enemy. Just one word came through the scan. Logs. Predator. Back on Earth, panic turned into terror. The alien was real, and it wasn't alone. Across the outer colonies, more reports came in. Whole cities were vanishing. Ships were being pulled into darkness. Survivors spoke of cold hands and red eyes. The media gave them a name, Vampires of the Void. But these weren't like the old legends. They didn't drink blood with teeth. They drained energy, heat, light, electricity, and even the life force inside living things. They were not living creatures in the normal way. No heart, no soul, no mercy. General Thorne of Earth's Defense Forces stood before the United Earth Council. These are not raiders. These are not conquerors. They are eaters. They don't want our land. They don't want peace. They want us dead and dry. Some wanted to surrender. Some wanted to hide. But Earth's people had never been good at giving up. A scientist named Dr. Hale had an idea. It's simple, she said. They feed on energy. So we give them something they can't eat, something that burns even them. The council leaned in. Dr. Hale smiled coldly. Antimatter. Long ago, Earth banned antimatter weapons. They were too dangerous. One small core could destroy a whole planet. But now, the rules were changing. The antimatter labs under the Himalayas were reactivated. Silent engineers began building the first weapon. They called it Project Firelight. But they needed time, and the vampires were getting closer. Out near Jupiter's moons, a small colony called Eden 1 prepared for evacuation. People screamed. Parents grabbed their children. Lights flickered. Then, it came. A dark cloud moved across the sky, blocking Jupiter itself. The ground grew cold. One man looked up and whispered, "They're here." The first building was swallowed in blackness. Then the power failed. And one by one, the screams stopped. When a rescue ship came 2 days later, there was nothing left. Only dust and echoes. Humanity had never faced such a thing. Wars with aliens before had been brutal but logical, battles for land, water, air, but this was different. The vampires didn't talk, they didn't reason, they just fed, but humans had one thing they didn't. Rage. And rage was fire. In the silence of deep space, a signal was sent. It came from an alien ship long thought destroyed. The message was broken but clear. They drain stars, they eat light, but they fear the burn. You must fight fire with fire. The message ended with coordinates, a system far beyond Earth, full of dead suns and dry planets. That's where the vampires lived. That's where the war would begin. And Earth was ready. The Crusader II launched from the lunar base, carrying the first antimatter warhead. Behind it, a fleet of 60 human ships followed. Each ship was armed with new tech, energy shields, and cold engines. They called this fleet the Firewall, humanity's last line. As the stars above Earth grew darker, a child looked up and asked his father, "Will the monsters come here?" The father didn't answer. He just held the child close, watching the sky, waiting. Because in the shadows, something was coming, and this time it was hungry for Earth. But Earth was not afraid. Not anymore, because now it was humanity's turn to feed them fire. The mining station floated quietly above asteroid Delta-9. It was a small base, just 30 workers, 2 engineers, and 1 robot. They were mining for rare crystals used in human energy cores. The work was hard but quiet. People joked, laughed, and played cards after long shifts. Nobody expected death to come that night. Technician Myra was the first to feel it. She was checking power cells on the outer platform when her helmet visor fogged up strange because her suit was working fine. She wiped it, then noticed her breath. It had turned white. "I think my heater's broken," she said on the com. But then her suit's temperature warning flashed. The inside was fine. It wasn't her suit that was cold, it was space itself. Inside the station, the lights flickered. Maintenance droid K81R tilted its head. It detected a sudden energy drop, sharp and unnatural. "What the hell?" Engineer Paolo frowned. "The core just dropped 10% in 3 seconds. That's impossible." Then the station's main lights shut off. Emergency. Red lights came on. And something tapped the outer hull. Slow, deliberate. Tap. Tap, tap. Myra screamed over the radio, "There's something out here with me." Then her voice cut off. Only static remained. Commander Reeves stood in the control room. He tried to stay calm. Maybe a meteor shower. Maybe she lost her signal. But deep inside, he knew that wasn't true. He'd heard about what happened on Veridan 3. He'd seen the classified footage from Moonbase Helios. And now, it was happening here. He pulled up the external cameras. At first there was only darkness. Then something moved out. It wasn't flying, it was gliding. A shadow, blacker than space. The stars behind it disappeared as it moved. "Seal the doors," Reeve ordered. "All workers to the core chamber now." Alarms screamed. People ran through the narrow halls, grabbing children, tools, anything they could carry. And still, no sound came from the outside. No blasts, no weapons. No weapons, just that tapping. Tap, tap, tap. In the core chamber, the temperature dropped again. People shivered. The heaters were at full power, but they weren't helping. Suddenly, the air changed. It felt thinner. Engineer Paolo stared at the energy readings. "It's feeding," he whispered. "It's draining the core." "Shut it down," Reeves shouted. "I can't. If I cut power, we lose oxygen." Outside the station, the shadow crawled across the walls, like liquid darkness. A light blinked. Outer airlock breach detected, but no alarms went off. No explosion, no forced entry. The shadow had simply passed through the wall. Worker Lonnie was holding her son, Kieran Shablingtan. The man beside her was gone, just gone. His clothes dropped to the floor, a dry, empty shell where he had stood. Kieran screamed. Lonnie turned and saw it. A face, pale, hollow, red eyes glowing, mouth closed, but still drinking. The creature floated above the floor. No wings, no legs, just a flowing cloak of nothingness. It didn't speak, it didn't roar, it just moved, soundless and cold. People ran, some froze, others begged, none survived. "Commander." Reeve pulled out a pulse rifle. He aimed at the thing. "Burn, monster." He yelled and fired. Blue bolts lit up the room. The energy passed through the creature. It didn't scream, but it turned slowly toward Reeve and smiled, not with lips, but with eyes. Then Reeve's rifle turned cold and dropped from his hands. His arms turned gray. His breath stopped. In 10 seconds, Commander Reeve was just a husk on the floor on Earth. The signal from the station ended, but one emergency drone escaped. It sent back a single video, a child hiding under metal pipes, whispering into the camera. Came without sound, the boy said. They don't want gold or power, they want us. Then a shadow covered the screen, and it ended. Back on Earth, General Thorne watched the footage in silence. How many survivors? He asked. None, the officer replied. All 32 people confirmed gone. What about the drone? We lost it. Last image shows something following it. We assume it was destroyed. The room fell quiet. Prepare firewall protocol, Thorne said. Deploy test strike. The EDC launched the first small antimatter warhead. That it wasn't large, just enough to destroy an asteroid. They targeted an old moon near Saturn where a vampire had been spotted feeding. The warhead hit. The explosion was silent in space, but bright as a star. Sensors picked up massive radiation. Then, strangely, the shadow disappeared. It didn't run, it didn't fight. It just evaporated. Humanity had found its weapon. They could kill the vampires. But they needed more time, and the vampires knew. A message came across human frequencies. Not text, not sound, images. 1,000,000 dry corpses, drained planets, empty galaxies, and, at the center, a throne made of bones. A voice echoed inside every human mind. You burn bright, you burn fast. We will drink you last. Panic spread. People fled cities. Markets crashed. Riots broke out in 5 countries, but the leaders stayed firm. The firewall fleet was almost ready. The antimatter weapons were growing stronger. And now they had something else. The will to fight. Dr. Ho stood beside the antimatter reactor. This is not a bomb, she told the crowd. This is a torch. She raised a glowing cube, and with it, we light the path through darkness. In the vampire nest, deep beyond any known stars, the queen stirred. Her children whispered. They awaken, they resist, they burn. The queen opened her red eyes. They taste better when afraid, she hissed. Then the nest began to move. Thousands of ships made from bone, black metal, and shadow. They left their dead star system and pointed toward Earth. The next feast was beginning. Mars was Earth's proudest colony. Red skies, growing cities, domes full of farms and schools. Over 2 million people lived there. Soldiers guarded the skies. Drones patrolled space. Towers reached toward the stars. No one believed Mars could fall, but they were wrong. It began with silence. At 2:13 a.m. Martian time, the northern dome of New Horizon City lost all power. No warnings, no explosions, just darkness. A family watching a late-night movie saw the screen go black. Lights flickered. The temperature dropped, and then the screaming began. Emergency drones launched into the sky. The first drone captured the image. A cloud black, moving fast above the dome. Not smoke, not storm, a ship, or something worse. It touched the glass. The dome cracked, not from impact, but from pressure being pulled outward. The glass shattered. Air rushed out. People were sucked into the sky, like feathers. Then the cloud entered, and the cameras died. Earth Defense Council reacted in minutes. The Helix fleet near Jupiter was ordered to intercept. Admiral Reyes gave the command. All ships to Mars. Save who you can. Burn everything else. He knew what was coming. Back on Mars, Commander Vale of Red Sector was already fighting. Her base was under attack. Her soldiers were trained, armed with plasma rifles. They had new shielding tech and portable EMPs, but none of it worked. The creatures were already inside, floating, feeding, silent. Vale shot one at close range. The bolt hit burned through, but the creature didn't fall. It simply turned and stared. Then her gun turned cold in her hands. Her helmet cracked. She ran all around her. Her team screamed. In Sector 12, a group of scientists activated the defense grid. Giant lights meant to blind invaders. It worked for a moment. The vampires hissed. Some backed away, but then they changed. Their bodies twisted, absorbing the light, and they came back stronger from orbit. Earth ships began bombing the ground. Antimatter warheads hit vampire-infested zones. Fire lit up the red planet. Entire city blocks vanished. Thousands of humans were lost in the blasts, but the darkness pulled back. Admiral Reyes watched from the Crusader 2. This is a rescue mission, he said, not a funeral. He gave the order, drop the Guardians. The Guardians were elite human soldiers, trained for vampire combat. They wore special suits that burned like the sun when they landed on Mars. They lit the sky. Each suit carried mini antimatter grenades and solar blades. They called themselves Sunwalkers, and they came to fight. Guardian Aiden was one of them. He landed near the ruins of Sector 9. His sensors showed dozens of energy-draining lifeforms. He moved silently. One vampire jumped at him. He turned, activated his blade, sliced it in two. The vampire shrieked, smoke pouring from its wound. But another came, then another. Soon, Aiden was surrounded. He fought like fire. Every movement was bright, but they kept coming. His grenades were gone. His blade cracked. He screamed, "Back up! I need backup!" Then the signal cut. From orbit, Admiral Reyes saw the readings. The Guardian squads were losing. One by one, their signals blinked out. The vampires were learning, adapting, and they were hungry in the heart of Mars. Near the Great Canyon cities, the vampire queen arrived. Not the true queen, but one of her daughters. Tall, red eyes like stars, a cloak made of black flame. She hovered above the Martian soil. Human missiles launched toil. As she raised one finger and they turned to ash. She opened her arms and the wind screamed. Buildings cracked. Lights failed. People ran. She whispered just one word into every human mind. Mine, back on Earth. Dr. Hale watched it all from her lab. "We're losing," she said softly. General Thorne leaned in. "How much longer until the main core is ready?" Hale looked at the countdown. 6 days. "We don't have 6 days," he said. Then something hit Earth's outer shield. A ripple. Like a rock dropped in water. "They're coming here next," Thorne whispered. On Mars, Commander Vale gathered the last survivors of Dome 3. She had one antimatter shell left. Not a missile, just a raw core. She could run, she could escape. But then she looked at the children, the families. She made a choice, She stood in the center of the city. Held the core in her arms. And smiled. "For Earth," she said. She pressed the switch. Light exploded. It reached the clouds, it reached the vampires. And for one moment, Mars shone like a sun from orbit. Reyes and his fleet saw it. The vampire army was pushed back. Hundreds of shadows vanished. The Queen's daughter screamed and fled into the night. But Mars was broken. Too many cities lost. Too many people gone. Admiral Reyes gave the command, "Evacuate. Mars has fallen." Back on Earth, news spread fast. The second colony was gone. The firewall fleet returned, damaged but alive, and the message was clear. This was not a battle. This was just the beginning. At night, in a quiet field in Montana, a child looked up at the stars. He pointed to one. "Daddy, that one just went out." The father looked. He saw it too. A tiny light blinking out. He didn't tell his son the truth, that it wasn't a star, it was a ship. A human ship. One more soul lost in the dark. But Earth did not stop. Earth did not cry. Earth prepared. Because next time, the fight would not be on Mars. Next time, humanity would go to the nest. And they wouldn't bring peace, they would bring fire. The fall of Mars changed everything. No more doubts. No more waiting. No more waiting. The vampires were not just enemies, they were an extinction threat. Earth had only one weapon left. A weapon so dangerous it had been locked away for generations. But now, it was ready. Beneath the frozen mountains of Antarctica, a black metal room hummed with power. Inside stood a cube the size of a small car. It pulsed blue and white, floating in mid-air, held by magnetic fields. This was the antimatter core. Its name, Extinction. Dr. Hales stood in front of it. Around her, scientists worked in silence. She took a breath. The core glowed brighter. If it lost control even for 1 second, it could destroy all of Antarctica. But Hale wasn't afraid. She knew fear. She had seen what the vampires did to Mars. Now it was time to show them something worse. Something even they couldn't drink. Meanwhile, in deep space, a lone scout ship, named Bravewind, patrolled the edge of the Dead Star system. It had one job: track vampire movement. Captain Rika sat in silence. Suddenly her radar lit up thousands of blips. A swarm, and in the center, a massive energy source. The Queen. They're regrouping, she whispered. She sent a final message to Earth. Target locked, coordinates confirmed. Fire now, or never. Then the signal ended. The Bravewind was gone. Back on Earth, the firewall command center lit up. General Thorne stood before a wall of screens. Dr. Hale nodded. "The antimatter core is ready." Thorne turned to the council. "We vote now." The room was silent. One by one, hands rose. Unanimous. Humanity would fire its first antimatter weapon. The delivery ship was called Final Star. It had no weapons, just one job: carry Extinction 1 to the nest. Pilot: Captain June Korran. No crew, no backup. Just her, and a bomb that could burn a moon to dust. As Final Star left Earth's orbit, millions watched from around the world. Some cried, some prayed, others saluted. But one thing was clear: hope was flying with her, in the vampire nest. The creatures fed on old stars. They didn't know a weapon was coming, not yet. They were too busy watching. Earth, the queen felt something strange. A warmth. Not hunger, not fear, but fire. She turned her gaze. She saw the final star, and she screamed, "Captain." June saw the vampire ships rising toward her. Black, massive, hungry. She kept flying. "I'm almost there," she said into the recorder. "Almost." The ship shook. Shadows covered the windows. Then, light. She activated the final protocol. The core dropped into space. Magnetic locks opened. It floated silently, glowing brighter. The queen charged forward. Too late. The antimatter core reached critical mass. And exploded. No fire could be seen from Earth. But space lit up like a newborn star. Satellites burned. Sensors fried. Even the moon's orbit shifted slightly. Inside the nest system, nothing remained. Hundreds of vampire ships, thousands of drones. And the queen's throne all turned to ash. Back on Earth, people held their breath. Then Dr. Hale spoke. Signal confirmed. Target destroyed. General Thorne closed his eyes. "Is the queen dead?" Hale frowned. "We think so." But she paused. "There's movement far beyond the burn zone." One shadow floated. Broken. Wounded. But alive. A second queen. Smaller, younger, her skin cracked, her eyes dull. But she saw what humans had done. She didn't scream. She smiled. "Now you glow. Now you shine. We will drink you, lass." Then she disappeared into deep space. On Earth, the celebration stopped. Victory had come, but so had a message. They were not done. They would return stronger, smarter, and now, angrier than before. Dr. Hale looked at her team. "Begin building the second core," Thorne added. "Double the defenses. Fortify Luna. Bring every ship home, because this time, it would not be just Mars or Earth, it would be everything." At night, a little girl looked up at the stars. She asked her mother, "Did we win?" Her mother smiled sadly. "For now, baby, for now, in deep space, far beyond any human eye." The young vampire queen opened her wings. Behind her, hundreds of new ships formed, born from shadows, born from rage. She whispered to the dark, "Let them burn, let them all burn." The sky above Earth was still, but deep in the shadows of space, something stirred. The younger vampire queen had survived, and now she was building something worse. General Thorne stood at the center of the firewall command room. On the main screen, a black zone blinked red. It was a star system with no stars, just cold, just dark, and something inside. "We believe this is their home," Dr. Hale said quietly. "The nest." Admiral Reyes crossed his arms. "Then that's where we go." No one argued. The decision had already been made. This time, humanity would not wait. This time, they would bring the war to the vampires. The Crusader II, Solar Edge, Redline, and 62 other ships formed the largest human fleet ever sent into deep space. Each carried antimatter torpedoes, plasma shields, and pulse cannons powered by artificial suns. A new weapon was added to the Star Lance, a giant spear made of charged neutronium and firelight, designed to pierce the nest's core. Pilot, Commander Yara Lin, codename Torchbearer. Before departure, Commander Yara stood before her crew. "We were the prey. Now we hunt. We are not going there to escape." She looked him in the eyes. "We are going there to finish it." The fleet entered the vampire system on day 6. There were no planets, just floating bones, shattered moons, and a massive black structure larger than Earth's moon. The nest. It wasn't metal, it was alive, pulsing, breathing, dripping shadows, like blood. Around it, hundreds of vampire ships waited. No movement. No attack. Just silence. It was a trap. And humanity walked straight into it. Admiral Reyes gave the order. "Begin the push." Plasma cannons fired. Antimatter torpedoes launched. They hit the outer shield of the nest and broke through. A massive hole opened. Ships flew in, and the battle began inside the nest. Gravity twisted. Lights bent. Soldiers felt voices in their heads. Whispers. Regrets. Fears. Private Lunny saw her dead brother, Sergeant Moore, heard his daughter crying. The nest used memories as weapons, but the soldiers fought on. Commander Yara flew the torchbearer straight into the center. The ship shook. Wings of shadow chased her. She dived through black tunnels, dodging energy blasts and vampire fangs. "Get me to the core," she shouted. Behind her, 2 human ships were eaten by the nest, literally swallowed by its living walls. But she kept flying. On board the Crusader II, Admiral Reyes watched the battlefield burn. Human ships exploded, but so did the enemy. Vampires screamed as antimatter tore through them. But for everyone that died, 2 more came. They didn't stop. They couldn't. because this was home. Dr. Hale, back on Earth, whispered into her headset. Yara, if you reach the core, you must fire the star lance within 10 seconds. If you don't, I know, Yara said. Everything ends. The torchbearer reached the heart of the nest. A red crystal floated at the center. It pulsed with blood and light. Yara could feel it. A mind. A soul, the source of their power. The queen was there, watching her, waiting. Yar armed the star lance. The ship began to heed. One pass, one shot, that's all she had. The queen appeared in front of the ship, not in body but in vision. She floated in space. Massive, broken, burning but smiling. You think this ends us? Yara's hand shook. You only feed us. You only teach us. We will rise again. Yara aimed. You will die screaming, she whispered. Then I'll scream loud. And fired the star lance. Shot forward that it pierced the crystal core. The nest began to crack. The queen screamed. A wave of red light exploded from the center. Yara closed her eyes. The ship was gone. From space, the entire nest began to collapse like a dying star. One by one, vampire ships shattered. The screams stopped, and then silence. The Crusader 2 limped out of the system. Only 19 ships survived. Thousands of humans were dead, but so were millions of vampires. The nest was gone. Earth was safe. For now, back on Earth. Dr. Hale watched the screen turn white. She whispered, "She did it." General Thorne nodded. "Prepare a beacon. Broadcast the message to every system. The nest has fallen. Humanity fights back. But deep in another galaxy, a small shadow moved. Tiny, cold. A single drop of the queen's blood. It floated toward a dark moon and disappeared. Because some things don't die, some things wait. 3 weeks had passed since the nest fell. The stars were quiet. No vampire attacks. No signals. No movement. Earth celebrated. But Dr. Hale didn't. She knew it wasn't over. At the Arctic Research Station, she stood over a cold metal table. It was a glowing vial, red, dark, alive. The queen's blood. One drop had been recovered from the battlefield. Somehow, it had survived the star lance explosion. It pulsed faintly, like a heartbeat. Her assistant, Leo, stepped back. "It's still thinking," he whispered. Holly nodded. "It's waiting." But she had a plan. She wasn't afraid of the blood. She wanted to study it, control it, and maybe use it. At Earth's new lunar base, General Thorne trained new pilots. They wore upgraded suits made from reflective alloy. Each one carried a small solar core on the chest, energy from captured stars. This was called Project Beacon. The idea, build something vampires couldn't consume, a light they couldn't drain, because fire could be eaten, electricity could be stolen, but starlight, that was life itself. Dr. Hale worked day and night. She injected vampire blood into a sealed chamber with star particles. At first, the blood resisted. It twisted, screamed, tried to break the chamber walls, but the light was stronger. The blood burned, then it changed, turned blue. Frozen. Dead. Dr. Hale smiled. "This is it," she whispered. "We found the antidote." Project Beacon moved to the next phase. The weapon, solar blade swords made of compressed sunlight. The armor, sunborn suits made to reflect and radiate high-frequency solar heat. The test pilot, Captain Vale. Aaron had lost his family on Mars. He didn't talk much, but when he put on the sunborn suit, the lab lights flickered. "You sure this thing won't fry me?" he asked. Dr. Hale smiled. "Only if you aim it wrong." He stepped into the training chamber. A test vampire droner left over. Shadow form was released. It lunged. Arin raised his blade. The moment it touched the creature, it vanished in a burst of white light. No scream, just silence. Total disintegration. Arin grinned. "I'll take 10 of these." The vampire blood was then used to track other nests. Its molecules carried a faint frequency, a map. ALMOST. Dr. Hale and Leo used it to locate 3 small hives hiding near neutron stars. Human ships moved quickly. Each hive was destroyed. No survivors. The light was working, but deep in a dark system, far beyond Pluto's edge. Something was watching. The young queen, the last of her kind. She stood on a broken moon, cloaked in shadows. She had seen what the humans did. She had felt the nest die. She had heard her mother scream, and now she wanted revenge. She sent a message, not through radio, not through machines, but straight into human minds. Every person on Earth, on the moon, and in orbit heard it at the same time. A whisper: "Your light burns, your courage blinds, but you cannot escape night. I will not feed on you. I will end you." People screamed. Some fainted. Others ran to churches. The stars seemed to flicker, and above every capital city, a shadow appeared for 5 seconds. Just 5. Enough to prove she could reach them. Enough to remind them she was still out there. Dr. Hale didn't flinch. Instead, she turned the message into a challenge. She looked at the vial of frozen blood, and said, "You want to end us?" She held up a glowing chip. "This is what you'll face next." The chip was called Salcor X. It held star energy so dense that even vampire matter couldn't survive near it. Hale had built 10 of them. She gave them to the 10 best warriors. Earth had left. Eren was one of them. His new title, the Lightbearer. Plan was made. The final queen's signal had a trail hidden in the psychic frequency. It pointed to a black dwarf star, far beyond the Andromeda edge. It would take the fastest human ship 7 days to reach it. Admiral Reyes gave the order. 10 ships. 10 warriors. 1 mission, find the queen, and finish the war. Before leaving, Eren stood with Dr. Hale. "If I don't come back," he said, "burn my suit. Don't let them take it." She nodded. "You'll come back." He looked at the stars. "No, I'll come through the light." Fleet launch. 10 stars, piercing the void. No backup. No home. Just light, and the last hope of humanity. Far away. The queen felt them coming. She laughed softly, then opened her hands, and from her shadow, she created 10 more. 10 vampire generals. 10 monsters of darkness. Each one born from death, each one with one purpose: kill the light. The final war had begun, and this time, it wasn't about feeding, it was about survival for them and for us. The stars were quiet, but the silence was a lie. In the farthest part of space, where even light feared to travel, the final war was waiting. 10 human ships flew in formation, each glowing like a small sun, each carrying a Salcor X reactor, and each guided by one purpose and the queen: end the darkness. Captain Eren Vale sat in his seat, eyes forward. He wore the Sunborn suit on his chest. The star core pulsed like a heartbeat. His ship, Solar Wrath, hummed with power. Beside him, 9 other Lightbearers checked their weapons. There were no speeches, no prayers. Just quiet and courage. As they reached the target system, they saw it. The black dwarf, a dead star floating near it, was something massive. The throne, not built, not grown, just formed out of bones, dead suns, and screams. It was alive and waiting. Suddenly, the void around them shimmered. 10 shadows rose. Vampire generals, each one taller than a tower, each one shaped like fear. One had 1,000 arms, another had no face. One screamed constantly, another whispered names of people already dead. But the Lightbearers didn't stop. Eren said just one word: engage. The first clash lit up space. Arin flew straight at the faceless vampire. It swung, he dodged. He raised his solar blade and cut straight through its chest. The creature shrieked and melted into sparks, but the others attacked. Lightbearer Mira was grabbed by 5 arms. Crushed. Her ship exploded, but her core detonated too, taking 1 general with her. 8 left. Eren yelled, "Stay close. Use your light." Lightbearer Jin flew into a mech creature and released his full solar charge. The sound stopped. The vampire exploded, but Jin's ship didn't survive either. 7 left inside the throne. The queen felt the loss. She stood from her seat. Her eyes glowed red and gold. Her body cracked with ancient power. "I gave them fear," she whispered. "Now I give them death." She rose into the dark sky. Her wings spread across the stars. Eren felt her before he saw her. His screen flickered. His ship trembled. Then she appeared. The last queen, half light, half nightmare. Twice the size of their ships. Her voice echoed in his mind, "You are brave, but light fades." Eren replied, "Then we'll burn bright enough to take you with us." She attacked. Shadow blades spun toward the fleet. 1 ship was sliced in 2, then another. Only 5 Lightbearers remained. They flew fast, dodged, fired. Solar beams, the queen screamed, but kept coming. She was too strong, too fast, too old. Eren knew what had to be done. He called the others. "Get clear. I'm going in." "No," someone shouted. But he didn't stop. He flew Solar Wrath straight toward her heart. The queen roared and opened her jaws. Eren triggered the override. The Salcor X glowed bright, then brighter, so bright even the queen flinched. Arin whispered one last thing into his cum: "For Earth, for light." And then the last flame burned. A sun exploded. Silent. Pure. Space turned white. The queen screamed louder than any sound ever heard. Then silence. Her wings broke, her body cracked. She turned to ash. And was gone. The throne shattered. The generals vanished. The shadows faded. Back on Earth, Dr. Hale dropped her headset. She had felt it, so had everyone else. The fear was gone, the weight lifted. Children cried with joy, crowds filled the streets, not in panic, in peace, in the lunar base. General Thorne looked at the sky. One ship, he whispered, one man. Only 2 light-bearers returned. Their suits were cracked, their cores dim, but their eyes shined with something. New victory. A monument was built not on Earth, not on the moon, but in orbit where all could see it. A statue of a man in armor, his hand holding a blade of light, and beneath it, here burned the last flame. He lit the dark so others could see. And in that light, we lived. Far away, in a galaxy untouched by war, a young child looked up at the stars. Are they safe now? She asked. Her mother smiled. Yes, the dark is gone. The child paused. But if it comes back, her mother took her hand, then we'll light another flame.